Episode 2 of the Purely Podcast. We have a lot to talk about. The Red Sox are absolutely fucked. That's the only way to say it. Lucas Giolito, most likely out for the season, partially torn UCL. I'm heartbroken. The Red Sox made one starting pitching addition, and that was Lucas Giolito, paying him $19 million this season. And he isn't going to be pitching. So that's absolutely phenomenal. Who have they lost, you may ask? Well, they lost Chris Sale. They traded him away for a second baseman. By the way, Vaughn Grissom's also injured. So there you go. Grissom's injured. Giolito's injured. Both will not be on the opening day roster. James Paxton. He's gone. Corey Kluber, obviously, no big deal with him. He's gone. It's just going to be the same thing as last year, except minusing a few old guys. So season is over. Just got to pack it up there. Tanner Houck's going to be back in the rotation. Garrett Whitlock, two guys who absolutely failed as starters last year. Not excited at all. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. Anyone else have anything to add on Lucas Giolito?
Yeah, well, I'm wearing my Blue Jays hoodie, so as you can see, I'm not too mad about it. It makes the division a lot easier, but
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous how the Red Sox are paying 36 million, something like that, for Chris Sale and Giolito, who won't even pitch for them in 2024. That's just crazy. Yeah.
it is. Oh my
And we
God.
also know the Red Sox are not going to add anybody else.
No.
So you're kind
Yeah,
of stuck with what you got.
I was about to say what this means for Jordan Montgomery. He will 0% chance to become that he goes to Boston. His price just got more expensive. Scott Boras just told the Red Sox he's more. I mean, it's that simple. They need him, and they will not pay him. I mean, they already were not set on 2024. They've said we will spend when we feel like we should, or something like that, something along those lines. That means 2024 spending is not happening. It'll be 2025. Season is pretty much just meaningless now. Just watch the young guys. That's about all. Pretty rough stuff.
I think the only thing you got to look forward to this year is the call up of all those guys. That's pretty much it.
Yep. All the big prospects should be ready. Hopefully May or by the end of the year. But yeah, that's pretty much all to really be looking forward to. And the rotation, I mean, it'll be exciting to watch Bayo. Otherwise, Pavetta's on an expiring contract. Cutter Crawford's Cutter Crawford. And the other two, I don't even know, man. It's rough.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. But you were saying you like Rafaela this year, right?
Yeah. That's definitely something I want to get into a little bit later. I have that plan. Rafael's been phenomenal. But next thing I want to get into is Matt Chapman signing with the Giants in a 3-year deal, 54 mil with opt-outs after each year. That is big stuff. You know, the Giants offseason has overall been really, really good. You look at their last season team, and they were the worst team defensively, actually. So they were really, really bad. You add a 4-time Gold Glover, 2-time Platinum Glove winner, and Matt Chapman. It's a big move. Offensively, not the biggest contributor, but 107 OPS plus in 2023. Previous seasons, 27 homers in 2021, 27 homers 2022. He could be good offensively, but we'll see. Mainly added him for the defense. What do y'all think?
Well, I will say this: they needed to do something. They absolutely had to. Look at the division they're in. I
Exactly.
mean, obviously they're not going to win the division.
No
I
shot.
mean, somehow, some way, magically, not name the Dodgers. Whoever wins that division, it's a blessing, to put it lightly, right? I mean, the
I know.
Dodgers are going to run away with that division probably by June.
Yep.
But I mean, could the Giants be a wild card team? Who's to say they can't?
I
Maybe
could
they will,
see
maybe
it.
they won't. I like their team. I do.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
So
it's a good team.
I think with all the additions, all the money they've spent, they spent 44 million for Jordan Hicks, 42 for Jorge Soler, 54 for Chapman, 110 for Jung-Hoo Lee. If they don't make the playoffs, obviously they won't win the division. The Dodgers have it. But if they
Yep.
don't make the wild card, I think it'll be a pretty big disappointment for them this season.
No,
for
it
sure.
definitely would. Again, as everyone else has said, winning the division will not be happening. I mean, the Dodgers went insane. They signed Otani, they signed Yamamoto, Teoscar Hernandez, and the list goes on and on and on. They went crazy. So that division is theirs. But the Giants needed to get better because everyone around them was also getting better. The Padres, could you say that they got better? I mean, they added pitching, but they lost Juan Soto. The D-backs coming fresh off a World Series, add Eduardo Rodriguez. The Giants had to make a move, and this is one of many. They added Jung-Hoo Lee earlier this offseason. Again, good defender, speedy guy in the outfield, and a good bat. I like it. I don't believe he's hit lower than a 319 batting average in his time in the KBO, so should be a nice addition. Of course, they added Jorge Soler, another big power bat. So they have new guys for that lineup. And then, of course, Lee and Chapman defensively. So I do think that that's a pretty good signing. I like it. I definitely like it.
I will say that division has a lot of wild card teams in it. You can make a case for the D-backs, the Giants, and the Padres. Sorry, Colorado fans, but you're not in this conversation.
Yeah.
To make the wild card. The wild card in the NL this year is going to be stacked.
Yeah,
Seriously stacked.
I know.
Very competitive.
It is going to be. That division is just so tough right now. It's only getting tougher. And there's always, of course, the question, will Blake Snell become a Giant? I mean, that would really be interesting. I see a lot of people saying they should add an arm. Do you guys think Blake Snell's going to be a Giant or not?
Well, it would cost them a lot more money, and they've
It
already
would.
spent a couple $100 million this offseason.
Exactly.
And Robbie Ray's coming over. He won't pitch until
Yep.
mid-season. But besides that, I don't think their rotation doesn't really have a high ceiling to it. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just I think it lacks to their lineup a lot. And I still think they need a solid number one in the rotation like Blake Snell to be more of a top wild card team or someone that could go in there and win like a divisional series in the playoffs. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad rotation, but definitely not great. Their GM has already gone out and stated it is unlikely that we see a big pitching move. Obviously, kind of saying Blake Snell won't be happening. I don't expect it to. But yeah, I've definitely seen a few people talking about that. Now, what does this mean for the Blue Jays? I must ask you.
Yeah, so Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is just
Yep.
gonna get a big role at third. If he performs like he did in 2020 to 2022, he was a Gold Glover at third base in 2020, albeit it was the shortened season, but he put up 2 WAR in 58 games, which is pretty crazy. I think he was on pace for 5.7 for like 650 plate appearances, which
Mm-hmm.
would be outstanding for $7.5 million. And then 2021, 2022, he was worth like mid three WAR. I think if he gets back to that for only $7.5 million, it's great. But obviously losing Chapman, 4.5 WAR, and kind of a down year offensively, it's just gonna be a big loss. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kiner-Falefa, man, he had a 4 WAR in 2021, I believe. So I think that's pretty big.
Yeah.
And if they could get some of that out of him, that would be big. But what I was gonna propose, what if? Okay, so obviously the Giants signed Matt Chapman and
Yeah.
third baseman JD Davis now on the bench. What if they look to trade him? And what if the Blue Jays are interested in that? JD Davis wouldn't cost a whole ton. He's coming off the best season that he's had, very good defensively. And what if the Blue Jays went and traded for him? I feel like that could definitely happen. You split with Kiner-Falefa and Davis, both at third base, kind of a rotation there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I that was on the Blue Jays Reddit. Someone was
Yeah.
talking about that. They were going over it. I don't think we'll see another move this offseason. I think to get another infielder, like we already got Eduardo Escobar, Santiago
Yep.
Espinal, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Bo Bichette, all these middle infielder guys, and then our top prospects are infielders, Aurelvis Martinez, Addison Barger, and all those guys. Davis Schneider, of course, as well. So I think it would be rather unlikely to go out and acquire an infielder. I know the Blue Jays Reddit was also talking about Wilmer Flores going out and
Mm,
acquiring him too.
yeah.
But I think they really are going to stick with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I think they will.
Yeah, a trade would be very interesting, but I
Mhm.
do think they are pretty set in stone with kind of Falefa at third base. Their GM has made it pretty clear he likes the
Yeah.
roster is. He obviously tried to make it better. He tried to bring in, or I guess bring back Chapman. Didn't happen. Is what it is. They got Falefa on a very cheap contract. Just got to hope that they get the best, of course, out of him at third base. So yeah.
I
Yeah,
will
let's
say
hope for
this.
that.
I mean, I will say this. Brian Hayes broke Arenado's Gold Glove streak. Do we see Key Brian break Chapman's Gold Glove streak next? That's gonna be a
I
very
mean,
tight race, the Gold Glove
that's a good
race in the
point.
National League.
The Gold Glove race definitely just got a lot
That's
more
gonna be
interesting.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
Arenado, Hayes, and Chapman. That's stacked. Yeah.
it is insane. Now, what do you think, Grip and Rip?
Oh, what?
A Gold Glove will who will it go to? As a Pirates
Oh,
fan.
I mean Hayes. Hey, I mean, bias is gonna play into this, but Hayes. I mean, Hayes is just so good, so good. Hayes is gonna have a very pivotal part
I
in
had a
this
feeling.
team this year. He has looked completely locked in spring training so far.
Yeah.
It's actually incredible. What we talked about last podcast about the Pirates firing that AA hitting coach who fixed Key Brian Hayes. I mean,
Yep.
getting back to that for a second, I wonder how those Pirates feel that happened and then they did that. Management did that. I wonder.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of players on that team, which we'll probably get into in a little bit, that look completely renovated. Henry Davis, talk about.
Yeah, I definitely think Hayes, he was insane last year. He's an insane defender. It's just about the offense for him. Staying consistent in the lineup. Defensively, can he win one over Chapman? I mean, he won one over Arenado, so we'll see. I think it could definitely happen.
I think so too.
I
Yeah.
looked at Arenado. I looked at Arenado as like the final boss.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of what it was. So we'll see. I mean,
exactly.
Chapman's very good. He'll definitely they're gonna finish top three. All those guys are gonna
Yeah,
be
you'd
top three no
think.
matter what.
Mhm.
So you just gotta figure out which one goes where. Really, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And of course, staying healthy for Hayes. I know that's been a problem for him in the
yeah,
past.
that's his biggest issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If he could stay healthy, he could be a serious contender for Gold Glove. I feel like he could have won more Gold Gloves in his career if he would have stayed healthy in a year like 2021, for instance. So that'll be
Mhm.
definitely pretty big
Absolutely.
things. Um, Moving on though, Chris Bryant and his comments with the Rockies, of course, he went and he spoke with the Athletic. And let me just go back a little. 2021 MLB lockout happens. Free agents can't sign for several months. And Chris Bryant was, of course, a free agent during that time. And eventually, in March, the lockdown did end, and spring training began almost immediately after. And after spring training began, Bryant was still a free agent, and he was like, "Okay, everyone is at spring training right now, and I'm sitting at home on my couch. I want a team." And the Rockies went and offered him a deal. He was like, "Okay, I'm intrigued." He took it because it was a lot of money, and he took it because he also wanted to play, get back on the field. That's exactly what he did. 7 years, 182 mil, massive contract. And at the time, a lot of people really didn't understand the move from his perspective. Why sign with a team like the Rockies who are not going to be competitive? But yeah, he came out a few days ago and basically just said that it was because he wanted to just play again. And he just kind of took the deal. But he had a quote a few days ago saying that he should have done more research into the Rockies prospects. So, what are our thoughts on that? Do we think that that's kind of like a shot at the Rockies and their future? What's that saying?
Well, he said
Um,
that it was kind of taken a little bit out of context. He said that that was the quote, but it was in terms of he just wanted to get in and play, and that he
Exactly.
wished he knew a little bit more about the Rockies before signing with them. He's not mad about signing with the team, but yeah, it's just a little bit taken out of context by the Athletic,
Exactly.
I think. Yeah.
I definitely agree on that.
Of
Actually,
course, media will spin their own narratives. Of course, I could say one thing and they could take it out of context completely and say, "Oh yeah, this is the narrative we're going to run with. This is what's going to be pushed
yeah,
about this
whatever
guy, no
looks good.
matter what." Right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
always thought that Chris Bryant signed there because of the air. You know, healthy. Let's be honest. He's been on the IL more than he's actually with the Rockies so far, right? I thought originally this move was to basically put him in the Hall of Fame. I For a long time ago we talked, because me earlier have been friends for a long time, and I remember saying that a long time ago. This guy's trying to elevate his Hall of Fame status.
Yeah, I mean, playing at Coors
If
is
he
what
played healthy,
that's what you thought, but
yeah,
obviously hasn't
yeah.
happened yet.
I mean, look at their future. I mean, I hate Colorado fans. I'm gonna diss you twice in this video, but I don't see a way they win the division in the next 7 to 10 years, let alone even get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Don't see it.
it'll definitely be tough for them to
Don't
win
see it.
much of anything. Um, I look at the Rockies, and it's just not a good roster. I think in the lineup there are definitely some young guys, and I can see where Bryant was coming from. He's just saying he wanted a normal free agent process when it obviously couldn't be normal. Um, and instead it was not normal. He had to sign with the Rockies, and now he's probably even stuck there for about 5 years. So that's rough. He won't be able to win anything for the next 5 years, which, I mean, probably means he won't win anything for the rest of his career, which pretty unfortunate stuff. But yeah, he was definitely taken out of context there a little bit. He made it very, very clear that he's not been good over the last 2 years. He said if there's anyone who should be criticizing my teammates, it should not be me. He made that a very clear point. So I mean, again, I don't think it was any sort of a diss to the Rockies or any of his teammates. Yeah, just a guy who wanted a normal process.
Yeah, I agree. But
Does he have any opt outs? Do you know?
Not that I know of. Not
I'm
that I
not
know of.
sure. I don't think he'd want to opt out
So
though.
I'll tell you one
Yeah.
thing. Now,
Yeah. That was a crazy contract. He got more than Freddie
probably
Freeman that
not, but you
year.
never know.
Yeah, that was insane. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be a shot he would opt out, honestly. That dude just he'll take that money and he'll run with it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
But Garrett Cole is probably gonna opt out again after this year. If he has
Yeah.
another good Cy Young campaign, he's gonna get paid so much money.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
He's
And
going to, absolutely.
imagine, here's what we have to imagine as AL East fans. The Yankees have this great year, and then Juan Soto and Garrett Cole, both free agents. I imagine they would re-sign one of them, but holy, that would be a
Yeah.
lot of money. That would be so much cash. Garrett
Yeah.
Cole coming off the Cy Young year, and then hopefully he'll win it again this year, and then we could just see him walk away. And
Yeah.
then Soto, a lot of people are really, really excited about him. Obviously, you can't really take spring training, too seriously, especially established big leaguers. You can't take it serious, but Soto obviously has been mashing baseballs. A lot of people are really excited for him, so that'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will be. That's like $700+ million right
Yeah,
there. It's
dude.
crazy.
Oh my God. I love to see it. I really, really hope they lose at least one of them.
Yeah. Might happen. We'll have to see.
Now, if the you had to re-sign one of them, if you were cash, who would you re-sign and why?
Oh,
Extend, I should say.
Dude, that's so tough.
that is
Me
hard.
personally, I think I would be going Soto because Soto much younger than Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's great, don't get me wrong, and especially considering how their rotation is. I mean, it'll be bad if they don't have Garrett Cole, but I also think Juan Soto is Juan Soto offensively, very young player. If you went and extended him for 13, 14 years, that would be huge. And you get to lock up a superstar. Whereas Garrett Cole, For all I know, maybe he has several good years left in him. But, I know he is a little bit on the older side, I guess. So, yeah, I'd probably go Soto. What about y'all?
Yeah, I would also go Soto. Having him and Aaron Judge for the next like 8 years or something, 9 years that Judge has, 8 more years after this, I think.
Yep,
That's just an incredible 1-2 punch. That's just
it
insane.
is. It
Yeah, that would
is.
easily be one of the best in base. It would be hard to say with the Dodgers, but
I know, man.
second best duo in baseball, and yeah, just having two potential future Hall of Famers like that would just be crazy.
It definitely would.
Yeah, I would go Soto as well. I mean, it's hard not to go with Soto. Soto is going to look for his forever home.
Yeah, I mean, as
His
soon
forever
as
home is going to be in New York.
yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
been in Washington, San Diego. It's about time he settles down somewhere, and I think it'll for sure be New York. Now, how in the world, if they, okay, let's say they extended Soto, Garrett Cole, a little bit too expensive for them. In the terms of they already just paid Juan Soto a record contract, and they aren't looking to go and give out another one. How do you even replace Garrett Cole? What do you do if you're the Yankees? Like, I don't know. They just traded all that pitching in the Soto trade. It'd be pretty rough.
yeah, that would be hard. I'm not too sure about all the free agents after this next
Now, I
season,
will
but
say that there are a lot of pitching free agents next year. There are so,
there are
so many, dude. So many.
like which ones? Which ones? I haven't looked too much into it.
By name, I don't feel like I could tell you, but I was actually just looking into it the other day.
Huh.
There's a lot of names. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, we're
Got
losing
big
Yusei
names too. They're not
Kikuchi.
small names.
Yeah, we're just losing Kikuchi, and that's it. And
Yeah, exactly. We're losing probably Nick Pivetta. Haven't been able to spend on pitching yet, so I mean, probably lose him. Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah,
pitchers in this next market. So if they lost Garrett Cole, I guess they would have to go and spend on probably multiple guys. One guy is not going to be replacing Garrett Cole. It's just not happening. So another big thing happened the other day. Zach Wheeler got a absolutely huge extension by the Phillies. 3 years, 126 mil. So my thoughts are very convoluted on this. You see, Wheeler's been insane. I mean, he's been able to be healthy and productive since 2020. His worst ERA since 2020 was a 3.62 ERA, which was last year. And his best was a 2.78 ERA in 2021. He got a lot of money, but I think it makes sense. Although he is on the older side, at 31 years old, this is a very interesting move for the Phillies, to say the least. What do you guys think about Wheeler being extended with Philadelphia?
well, I'm happy right off the bat because it makes it harder for the Braves and the Dodgers to make the World Series. So being a
Yep,
fan of an American League team, that's also very nice seeing that all these good players are staying in the National League. As for Wheeler, I've been a huge fan of him. I wanted the Jays to sign him instead of Hyunjin Ryu in for the 2020 season. Ryu signed 4 years, 80. Wheeler was 5 years, 118. So it was a bit off, but so maybe it was just a bit too much money. But he's been fantastic since then,
he
and
is.
I like these lower term, high AAV signings. I love them so much more than the 10 years that players are looking to get.
No,
And
definitely.
I think a lot of GMs will want to lean towards those much more, as we've seen like Xander Bogaerts. His
I was about to
contract could be a
say.
huge
Hmm.
disaster, and just Albert Pujols and all these just guys, once they get into their later years of their contract, just don't perform well. So I think as the luxury tax increases, more teams will want to spend on higher AAV guys like with the Zach Wheeler deal. It's only 3 years, but 42 million each year is. I'm happy for him, but that's just the way I think things are gonna go towards soon.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as you said, there's going to be a lot of players in the retirement home, I guess soon is the best way to put it. Guys are being paid record money, and they're going to be really old, like Xander Bogaerts. Um, Probably, I think Manny Machado as well. I know
He'll
he
be old,
got,
yeah.
yeah, he'll be pretty old. The Padres are going to be a retirement home, and I think definitely taking that approach of giving guys more money year by year rather than a massive 10-year deal I think that definitely works out in your favor, unless, you're extending a guy like Juan Soto, who is very young. But
Yeah.
most of the time when you're extending a guy in MLB, they're on the older side, 28, 29, that type of stuff, 30 even, as we just saw. Now, I like it for Philly extending Wheeler. Obviously, back a few years ago, they hired GM Dave Dombrowski. He was the Red Sox general manager who built the 2018 World Series. If there's one thing you can remember about that team, well, he signed David Price. Price was great for 2018, and then David Price absolutely just kind of disappeared after 2018. So that was interesting. Not a great contract. Of course, I would do it again because you got the World Series, but still, he extended Chris Sale. So he's been a guy who's been very aggressive about keeping the pitchers that he wants to. And it's no different here. While extending Zach Wheeler, he has had a very aggressive Phillies tenure, signing Schwarber, signing Castellanos, signing Trey Turner, signing so many different guys to these big contracts. And I think it's clear they're going in on a World Series. That's all they want. They were in it once. They lost it. Last year, again, came close to coming back. Didn't do it. So what do? They re-sign Aaron Nola. They re-sign Zach Wheeler, of course, extending him. It's a lot of big stuff. I think it's World Series or bust for the Phillies within the next few years. That's at least how I look at it.
Well, here's the thing. They're still one big pitcher away. They are. They can't just stroll out Wheeler and Nola out there every playoff series and hope. The playoff series are 7 best of 5. Wild card, that'll work on the wild card, but I think that speaking of Snell, I think they should get Snell.
Yeah, I mean the report
a link or something to them.
Yeah, they were talking to Blake Snell at a point, but apparently talks never got too serious. Of course, earlier this offseason, they tried to offer on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They were one of 4 teams to offer $300 million. So, I think it would have obviously been big for them, but I think that they've been trying to get another pitcher really all off season. And yeah, I mean, it just hasn't happened. They haven't been able to get that third option quite yet. The trade deadline last year, obviously, they tried to make that third option Michael Lorenzen. He pitched the no-hitter, and then he disappeared. I mean, awful. Now he's, of course, a free agent. So right now, the rotation is really Wheeler and Nola versus the world. As we've seen in previous years, where the third guy was like a Kyle Gibson or something like that. Well, I mean, yeah, they definitely still need a third guy.
Yeah, at the moment, I think it's Taijuan Walker. So
yeah,
I mean, he could come out and have another 3.5 ERA, but at the same time, it could be bloated at 4.5. And then they also have Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez, who are also, I wouldn't say boom or bust, but you don't know exactly what you're gonna get with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe one more pitcher, and this team looks a lot better.
And this comes down to the injuries. So, a name we haven't heard in a while, actually, Andrew Painter. Andrew Painter was once baseball's top pitching prospect. Of course, before Paul Skeens came into the league. But Painter was supposed to be this absolute animal of a pitcher. Then he gets Tommy John. I think he missed all of last year, or at least most of last year, and I believe he's still injured this year. He will not be pitching most of this season, but he's hoping to get back around that August time or so. So maybe around August you'll be able to see Andrew Painter, but he was supposed to be that third guy. That was the plan for Philadelphia. That's why Dombrowski never traded him. So I definitely do think that now hurts more than ever, not being able to have Painter. They have another prospect, Mick Abel. I think he could come up, but asking him to be the third guy, again, it's just a lot for a young pitcher. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens in that rotation.
Yeah, definitely. Painter's still only 20 years old, which is still pretty crazy. That's very, very young. He pitched 5 games at AA in 2022. If he were healthy in 2023 and he got up to AAA maybe and threw some innings in there, then we probably could have seen him in 2024. But his ETA is so far down the line now because of the injury. Yeah, for sure.
It set him back, man. I mean, I remember last year they were talking about him coming, and then obviously gets injured, and Now it's all pretty messed up. Just gotta hope he comes back healthy and all that stuff. I was reading a quote the other day. He said his one goal is just to obviously get back on the mound this year, as it should be. But yeah, again, he was supposed to be that third guy. Doesn't happen. Is what it is. They're gonna have to make maybe some sort of other move, I guess. That's really the only way to go about it.
And
But,
people gotta realize, like, he's only 20 years old, like he said, and he has a history of arm issues already, which is pretty alarming as a 20-year-old.
yeah, it's definitely not great.
He's probably at least, I'd say, a solid 2 years away. At least 2 years away. Maybe even more.
Maybe on the talent scale, he was definitely super, super close to being ready last time we saw him on the mound. But we'll have to see how much that injury pushed him back, being he is so young. Again, as he said, 20 years old. So definitely going to be interesting. Okay, and we have one more segment for this. So we all chose one player who we believe is, I guess, kind of shining in spring training. Specifically a young player, obviously. Again, it doesn't matter if you're already an established big leaguer, but it matters if you're a young guy or just something along those lines. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
I didn't pick someone from the Blue Jays, but I picked Elly De La Cruz. I did.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of him. Obviously, last year he had some crazy moments. I think he hit 361 through his first 2 weeks of games. Obviously, he fizzled out. He had like a 310 OBP for the season, but he had 13 homers in 98 games, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this spring, he's working on lessening the leg kick and being more selective at the plate. Last year, he had 144 strikeouts and 427 plate appearances, which is not good at all. So being more selective at the plate, he's only entering his age 22 season. He's still going to get more powerful, and he already hit 13 last year. Especially being in Cincinnati, I think we could definitely see him at 30 to 35, maybe even at his peak be at 40, which would be ridiculous. But this season, I think he'll definitely be around 30 homers.
Yeah, I think he definitely will be. And obviously that Reds team is aiming for an NL Central win. I mean, they're that good. They could definitely get there, but they have to get past the Cubs. Tough stuff. Elly De La Cruz being that big breakout, like when everyone thought, last year, whenever he came up and was tearing down the league. If he could do that consistently this year, yeah, that Reds team is going to be pretty dangerous, to say the least.
Yeah. They're very scary. Their pitching is lacking a bit from their lineup, but I still think they could win the Central, maybe even a wild card if they don't get it. But I'm excited for this Reds team for sure.
Yeah, one of the younger teams in the league, obviously. A lot of young guys. So nice to see him doing well in spring training. Grip and Rip, I believe you chose Henry Davis.
Yes, I did. Because not only is Henry Davis doing very well, there is a controversy right now in the Pirates and their catching situation. So I'll fill you in on that first. So basically, our GM, Ben Cherington, for the Blue Jays and know very well, was on the telecast with the Pirates in the booth the other day. And they asked him, Greg Brown, that is the Pirates commentator, what's the catching situation looking like? Because, of course, we signed Yasmani Grandal for $2 million. Okay. And his answer was very alarming to Pirates fans. He said, Yasmani got and Davis and DeLay are fighting for the second spot.
So Davis and DeLay are fighting for second, and then Grandal's a starter. That's rough.
Yes. Yasmani Grandal, 35 years old, I believe, is the starting catcher. And keep in mind, Henry Davis right now is on an absolute roll. 400 batting average. Guys, 3 home runs. He is mashing the ball. All doubles and homers. Couple singles. He is very good.
Yeah, Davis
I
is insane.
don't know why the Pirates are having him compete for the spot. You're not going to put that guy out there every day? Like, really? That's pretty bad stuff to me.
Yeah.
And everyone in Pittsburgh is not at all.
Former number 1 overall pick back in, I believe, 2021. Henry Davis was someone who I think a lot of people were very high on, specifically offensively. He was more so a hitting catcher rather than defensive. He wasn't the best defensive catcher, but it's definitely something this offseason that they've tried to work on. Because last year he was an outfielder. He was a right fielder, did not go well, and now they're trying to get him back into catching. So I think he definitely should be catching, and of course developed. But again, as a hitter is really where you see the most potential with him. And right now, 400 batting average, he's absolutely killing it in spring training. It's a player I'm super excited for, and I think it's a player the Pirates need to be good. I think last year you saw a lot of their young guys come up, and they just didn't look quite ready. And I think you can attribute a lot of that to the Pirates' developmental system. But they didn't really look ready. Hopefully that you start to see some of those guys blossom. Like a Henry Davis, because if the Pirates want to be serious contenders and want to be able to sneak in for a wild card, it's definitely going to take those young guys stepping up and having a good year. So I'll definitely say that. And then
we should see Skeens as well.
Yeah, we should. Hopefully by June. My pick is Ceddanne Rafaela of the Red Sox. Ceddanne Rafaela came up last season. He didn't play it a whole ton, and he didn't look great. I mean, he didn't look bad either, but we just didn't get a big sample size, didn't get to see a ton of him. But, coming into spring training, it's interesting because he's in a situation where if he doesn't play until pretty much the beginning of June, he has an extra year on his contract. So service time manipulation could happen. They could keep him down AAA till June, then he has an extra year on his deal. Or he can be the opening day center fielder, which in spring training, he has been absolutely mashing the ball so far. Rafaela is someone who's good offensively, but the most exciting part with him is he's such a fast player defensively. And the Red Sox really have not been good defensively over the last few years. And now if you have Jarren Duran in left field, you take, of course, Masataka Yoshida out of that equation. Center field, you have Rafaela. That'll definitely be big. Two guys who are great defensively. That's what I'm most excited for with Rafaela. He's done a phenomenal job so far. I believe he also stole a bag. He has good power in his bat, hit a homer this spring training. So I'm excited. That is my pick. Does anyone have anything else to add?
Well, I will say Yasmani Grandal he's been around the league for a while. He's a veteran. He's a nice player to have on the team for a young guy to look up to, not to take reps away from. So I don't understand the reason for him starting. He had 3.7 WAR in 2021, but since then he's had negative 2.1.
Yep.
He's just going to be a negative asset to the club. I don't really understand why he should be the one starting. He should be the one helping the younger guys develop and perform to the best of their ability.
I agree. Yeah. Yasmani's role should specifically be helping those young guys develop, and it should also be, to an extent, working with a pitcher like Mitch Keller, who has struggled with certain catchers. He has been good with certain catchers. He's been very, very bad with other ones. And I think if he was working with a guy like Yasmani Grandal, who is usually a very good defender, I think that could work out, but I don't think as your everyday starting catcher, I don't think it's a good move. Let the young guy play. Last season, that was kind of their approach. Let the young guys play. Why stop it now whenever you're starting to see a guy blossom like Henry Davis is?
And if you remember last year, we had Austin Hedges. And Austin Hedges was not good. And people, of course, were waiting on the arrival of Andy Rodriguez and Henry Davis. And what did we do as Pirates fans? Boo the living shit out of him every time he struck out because he struck out 2 out of 3 times a game. He did. So I'll tell you right now, if Yasmani Grandal performs like that, he is going to be booed at work on a regular basis because of the position that Henry Davis is sitting at left bench.
Yeah, and the difference last year and this year, last year they were hoping that he would get to the majors. Well, this year, Henry Davis going to be in the majors, and he's had a phenomenal spring training. So fans are like, okay, we're ready for him. I mean, they're done with the, entire circus that they're having at catcher with all the old veterans. Of course, once we saw Roberto Perez, last year we saw Austin Hedges, this year it's Yasmani Grandal. Every year it's just a new veteran, and it just hasn't worked out. It's time you get some stability at catcher, and keeping Davis in that starting role. That's the biggest thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're actually talking about starting Davis in AAA is actually sick.
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
He's like 23 years old, right? I think something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he's very young.
Yeah, he's a young player. And I think he looks pretty ready for the big league. So hopefully we will see him the starting catcher at least some point throughout this season. I think it'll definitely happen with performance. But yeah, just got to hope that it does happen.
At least make him the right fielder, at least.
Make him something, dude.
You don't have a right fielder right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have a right fielder right now either, so.
Again, he played right field last year. Was not great defensively, but I mean, you need him in that lineup. The Pirates can't afford to have some of the better bats.
He's hitting.
Yeah. They can't afford to have some of the better bets just sitting on the bench. They have some guys like Reynolds. Of course, we saw Hayes go on that tangent last year. So Winsky statistically was very, very good, OPS wise. So I think adding another guy to that equation could really help the Pirates again make a wild card. It's been a long time since they've been in there, so I think a guy like Davis could definitely make an impact and could get them back in there.
And the big contribution we're going to have this year is O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, that's a good point. And O'Neal Cruz.
With O'Neal Cruz, that's going to be the best part of our team, 100%.
Yeah, Cruz has to be able to stay healthy. Of course, that's a big one. He has not been able to do that. Of course, last year, bad injury. That was bad. But he's back now. He wants to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. And if O'Neal Cruz could stay healthy, he may be the best Cruz in that division. I'll definitely say that.
Could be, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of discourse. A lot of discourse amongst NL Central fans on who's the best Cruz, believe me.
I know. And
Reds fans will say theirs, Pirates fans will say ours. So.
Yeah, and I think this year
is what it is.
This year's truly going to be the year that it'll, is figured out. Ellie coming into, I guess second season, whatever. And then O'Neal finally going to be healthy. Hopefully going to be seeing a lot of big stuff from those two Cruzes. Could be the face of the future for both organizations. So, I mean, we'll see on that very soon. But I think that's really all we have for today's show. If anyone wants to add anything, here's your chance to. But yeah, I think overall there's a decent amount of stuff going on. Again, the Wheeler extension, and then Chapman being signed. Season is right around the corner. Very, very excited. Of course, we'll have another episode next week. Again, if anyone has anything else to say.
Yeah, hopefully Blake Snell and Montgomery will be signed by then. We can talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, that could be something we talk about next weekend, hopefully.
Speaking about that, apparently there's teams that have reached out to Boris over those, though. You would think.
Mm-hmm.
You would think.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully we see that.
I don't even want to speculate who those 4 teams are.
Hopefully we see that stuff done very, very shortly. We absolutely need it, to say the least. We need Snell and we need Montgomery on a team quick. We'll see what happens though. A team just hasn't been willing to overpay. And I think the Red Sox, of course, again, just came out of that equation for Montgomery. Not happening. No shot. But, yeah, so that's it again. Episode 2. We will be back with episode 3 hopefully next weekend. If not, beginning of the week. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you have not already. If you're, of course, watching this on YouTube. Again, we'll be back. Peace out.